Kieran, man, how are you holding up? You are one of the busiest men in Muay Thai and kickboxing, man. Are you okay?
Well, I did. I always joke to say that before I started promoting, I had nice long hair like Bon Jovi. Now look at me.
Yeah.
No, I'm really good. You know, like it's one of those things I've seen. Involved in the game a long time, especially with everything, fighting, coaching, then into promoting. But to be honest with you, I always tell promoters, and I'm the same, by the way. Sometimes I really feel like having a moan up and going on social media and telling people about this and that, and you know. But the truth is, I chose to do this job. I don't have to do this job, right? I don't have to. I could do the time and effort into something completely different, and I'd probably still have the same feelings, right? I enjoy doing it. I'm passionate about it, but I chose to do it. And that's the be all and end all. If you want to walk away from it, you can. Like, it's not one of those jobs where you're tied to or you're putting bread on the table for your family. It's not. It's something that we
Oh,
really enjoy doing. Don't get me wrong. It's now become a huge part of my life that it is, like financially it is to a point now where it's really progressed my life a lot. So I'm grateful for that. But you're still going to have the ups and downs. So
well, and it's made incredible progress. So you founded the Muay Thai World Cup there. You've got awesome commentators coming in. You're producing amazing fighters. Some of them are going off to one championship and stuff like that. Like, it's an incredible amount of progress that you've made in just a short amount of time.
do you know what though? It's like I said before I came here. They had the fighters. They really did. They had the talent. They just never had the platform. And all it was me providing the platform with a team, I may add. And then
Mhm.
eventually that team started to realise what my dreams and ambitions were, and they became part of that as well.
Mhm.
So grateful for all of the team, but also grateful for the fighters that had to believe in and trust in sort of the vision as such. And now we're all part of it together. And if you look at like the road to one, we've done, three, well, two guys, one girl have signed for one championship. It's an amazing. To be honest with you, it's an amazing feeling also to see that. Yeah, and I think Jake is going to announce very shortly. Peacock is going to announce very shortly in the next few days. We hope. Can't give you more than that, unfortunately, but he's going to be fighting very soon
Fighting very soon for you or for someone else?
for one championship.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Hey, by the time this interview goes live, that'll be public, so don't worry about it. That's just like, but no, it's absolutely awesome. Jake Peacock is just one of those amazing, amazing stories of like I saw one of the comments, but he's like a half arm or one arm fighter. But I saw
Correct.
one of the comments saying like he actually has an advantage because it's like a cannon when he lands it.
Yes, but you know what? Like, so take the arm away, okay, and take that his dad was a famous football player. Take away like he's got this great life for his family and he's got his kids and he's all of that. He can fight, and that's why that's the whole thing. He can fight. It's regardless of everything else. Don't get me wrong. I know in this day and age, with the social media and creating a character and everything that he can bring to the table is amazing.
Yeah.
But you still got to be able to fight, and he can fight. And he finishes guys. He's very good on the mic. He's got a lot of things going for him. So for a promoter, it's amazing what he can bring to the table. But at the end of the day, he's still got to get the W, right? But he does it in fashion, so it's good.
Yeah. No, and similar to you, a UK guy moved to Calgary. What's going on in Calgary? Like I'm the opposite. I'm from Calgary and I moved to the UK now. What's going on in YYC?
Mine was a bit different motivation. So mine was I have three young kids,
Right.
and the area I was in. It's not that I got. It's the wrong words to say, but I just got a little bit stale, and I wanted a little kick in the ass for a new challenge.
Mhm.
And things were going okay, but I just wanted, okay, maybe there's an opportunity. I got offered this a job here of coaching, but I
Mhm.
also wanted to get into the promoting side of things and see how that developed. And we actually live about 40 minutes outside of the city, so we live in a place called Bragg Creek.
Oh yeah, I know
So
Bragg Creek. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I don't
so
think and no one listening will know Bragg Creek, but I know Bragg Creek.
what do you know what though? Even people from Calgary sometimes don't know it. It's weird, right? So I live there, and you think about coming from the UK, London especially, and then you go to a place like that. It's the absolute opposite: mountain backdrops, forest, wildlife. Obviously all the weather on top of that. So yeah, I just wanted a better life for the kids, really, and what's happened is at the same time, I think Calgary, especially in Alberta as well, is still developing with not just in my business, but all different types of industries. And there is massive opportunity for people if with hard work and obviously a thought process is to do well for yourself, right? And I think the last 6 years have been treated me very well. Don't get me wrong, we had COVID and that was a nightmare, let's put it that way, and everybody was on the same boat on that. But that was a bit of a tough situation, especially in my industry, and it delayed it. And even to be fair, it took, even after COVID went, it was probably 12 months, year and a half maybe, for it to really start to recover and people to really start to do things right. But the way that the country's treated me has been fantastic, and the people have been amazing. So long live until maybe the kids get older and they want to go back to England. Who knows?
Yeah. No, Bragg Creek is an amazing place. Like, it's kind of
Yes.
like you can do rafting in the afternoon and then you can go horse riding in the evening. Like, it kind of just has everything. But how are you surviving the -40 winters?
I don't mind it, but I'll tell you why. Because first of all, you know this anyway, is the country or the city, country and province, they're all adapted to the weather.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
So a big snow dump comes down, within an hour you can still drive. You know, don't get me wrong, you have got some extremes. Like the other day, a snowfall hit, and it was like the Millennium Falcon. You know, when you go into hyperspeed, and I could hardly see. I could hardly see like 2 feet in front of me. I was just driving like this. But yeah, you know, I do like the seasons. The summers are amazing here. You know, I love the fall, which is a beautiful season too, especially where I live. And yeah, so I don't mind it so much. Don't get me wrong, you know, -40 is a bit harsh. But you know what? Another thing I always say is, if Calgary had all year round good weather, the population would probably be 10 times. And I'm happy that it isn't, right? So maybe it's to do with the weather too.
But also, one thing that I noticed when I moved to the UK is that because of how cold it is in Canada, the houses are insulated.
Yes.
Here, it doesn't get very cold, so the houses aren't insulated. I'm actually way colder here than I was there.
Yes. Yeah. And to be honest with you, when I went to Vancouver last month or month before, I found that super cold, very much like England, because it's rain and wind. And again, the buildings are old, so they're not insulated. They're brick, of course. It's totally different, and you are absolutely right. However, explaining that to someone back home, when I say, "Oh, it's only -10," people go, "Oh, I couldn't live." And I said, "Actually, it's not bad. It's not what you think at all, because there's no wind, right? And you're not getting wet, so it's totally different." But yeah, you know, England is cold. You know, it is cold, and it's gloomy too sometimes. Whereabouts do you live in England?
I'm up in Edinburgh, actually.
Oh, you're in Scotland, right? Okay, yeah, nice part of the world, though.
Oh, it is. It is. But like you said, it's almost like, and you know this from living in Calgary, it could be -30, -40. It could be fall. At least you have sun. And
Yes.
here you don't get sun. Like,
No.
it'll be +5 or whatever, and that's fine. But you might not see the sun for a whole month. But in Calgary, it's bouncing off the snow.
Yeah.
It's bouncing off everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of sun here. It does make a difference to your mood, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I don't know. We're looking at buying a place here. We might move somewhere else. Who knows? I might move back to Canada. It's all really nice, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, listen, I went to Edinburgh about 15 to 18 years ago. And I was in the city. I was only there for a couple of nights, and some good bars and restaurants. You know, some old history there, which, if you like that sort of thing. And Scotland in itself actually has some beautiful spots. In fact, there are certain spots that remind me of Alberta in many ways. You know, they're tiny spots, but some gorgeous places there.
Oh man, the Highlands and everything is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
But let's get back to you here. So you were was it the first British fighter in history to fight in both Lumpinee and Rajadamnern Stadium? Is that right?
Yes, yes. So I fought at Lumpinee Stadium, and there had been English people that fought there before. Yes. And then same with Rajadamnern, there had been various people that fought, but to do both, that was a unique thing. So it's one of those things that I suppose. It's funny, at the time it wasn't much to me, and I look back and go, "Oh, it's pretty cool."
Yeah.
You know, I know that the dynamics of Thailand have changed a lot, because Rajadamnern and Lumpinee is a hell of a lot more accessible than it was before, and that's a good thing, because people are getting exposure and they're getting paid. In those times, to get into Lumpinee or get into Rajadamnern was not an easy feat, right? You couldn't just turn up in Thailand and a month later fighting it. You had to sort of fight in the little towns. And do you know what I always say? Those little village towns and those crazy little places that I fought in, I sometimes had harder fights there. You know, they'd go for you, and you know they weren't recorded or on TV. I've got one of those crappy cams, if you remember, from the late 90s, early 2000s, the big ones with the flip screen and the little, you know, cassette you used to put in.
Yeah.
I've got them developed, so I should do. And then you're fighting in these places, and some of those tires, they were just so good, and they would just go to kill you from round one, right?
Well, and it's a little bit of a different attitude for Falang
Yes.
because like they for each other, they're for Nak Moys, they're a little bit respectful because they know they're probably fighting next week. But for a Falang coming in, they're trying to take your head off, right?
Yes. And you know, a lot of them, it's totally different, right? I did it because I really loved it. I trained hard, and my ambition was to become what I could do, the best version of myself, right?
Yeah.
But they're doing it for completely different reasons, and it is hard to beat someone when that is their absolute livelihood, right? You know, all else fails for me at that particular time. I could have gotten a plane back to England, and then a month later be working in an office or something, right? They don't have that choice. So these the best fighters in the world, let's be honest, are those guys who come from those backgrounds, those poor backgrounds. That drive is something else that, being in the West especially, is very, very hard to find. I'm not saying you can't beat them. I'm not saying you can't beat them. But the high level ones, they're hard to beat because, first of all, they're proud of where they come from and their culture, but they're fighting for their family too, right? It's a difficult one. So yeah, I had a lot of wars in these little villages and fishing villages and middle of nowhere towns, and got a few cuts to show it. You know, boom, boom, whatever.
Man, yeah, no, it's a different life living out there and fighting in it as well. And the gambling culture is something like we talk about a lot of the like prestige around Lumpinee and Rajadamnern, but a huge part of it is just gambling. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's changed because
Right.
in the 2000s, early 2000s, when I was there, there was a bit of a dip in Muay Thai actually,
Yep.
with the basically with the economy in Thailand. So the stadiums were going from, in the 90s, full to half full, quarter full, unless it was a super big show. But it used to be every week. And of course, Premier League, online gambling came in, and it was a way different style of betting and gambling. So don't get me wrong, there were some fights that were swayed by bets, absolutely. And I think that's what happened, is a lot of the fan base and the other gamblers were placing bets on foreign football, basically. And it's huge there, you know, and that's the case. And if I'm right, one Lumpini doesn't allow gambling no more. So yeah, it's true. Absolutely true. Yes, no more gambling. You could do online stuff, I think. Don't get me wrong, you can place bets online, but no more live gambling. But I remember being there, and I fought in this stadium. It was called Wales Stadium, UBC. It was a TV stadium,
Gotcha. Okay.
and I had this fight. And this Thai, you didn't know who you were fighting till you weighed in, and it was 145 pounds, 143 pounds actually. So I had to make weight in the morning. I was a pound over, so I had to run in a sweatsuit. Lost the weight. And again, you didn't know who you're fighting. So I fought this Thai, and he was 6'2", and I'm 5'10.5". So it's big Thai, like, you know, bony as hell, southpaw as well. So I had to discover that in the first round, of course. And he went to absolutely murder me for 2 rounds. It was the most painful experience I've ever had because he was bony, and even when I was kicking him and he was checking and blocking, it hurt, right? And then round 3, it completely changed. His arm dropped in clinch, and I just went boom with an elbow and just give him a big cut on his eyes, huge cut. And I went back to the corner, and my corner wasn't there. It was all gamblers telling me how to fight and win. And I was like,
What?
yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And in those days, you had these like, it's 2002 or 2003. They had these like boards, right? And they were
Yeah.
boards, and they would hold them like that. And the boards had all telephones on them. And they were getting phone calls in on the TV, and they were placing bets. So what happened is I was getting destroyed for 2 rounds. I flipped it with round 3 with a big elbow and wobbled him.
Yeah.
And I was like looking in the corner, and gamblers are coming in like, hit me on the leg, do this, do that, do that. So round 4, I was just like, who do I listen to here? There's about 1 million people. So round 4, I opened up the cut again. He cut me. And then I thought I was losing round 4, and I caught his leg. And I remember just dropping his leg and then just driving a kick across the body right before the bell went. And I come back to the corner and the gamblers are telling me, don't fight round 5, just move. And I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Just move. So they were like, just move, hit and move, hit and move. So it was sort of a bit weird to me. I was like, I should go for it round 5. No. And they're like, move, move, move. So I just kicked, move, kicked, move, kicked, move. And then I won the fight, right?
Yeah.
And a couple of memories from that was, one, it was because it was March, so it was the hottest month in Thailand.
Oh my God.
Right. I obviously did that bit of a weight cut. And it was a bit of a real hard fight. We had cuts. I had to cut my elbow. He lost a tooth. All of that sort of fight. And it's one of those fights I've got in those little videos. Yeah, I need to upload it. Really, I should. Yeah. And afterwards, I was in the change room, and I literally was just so hot. I had an ice pack on my head, and I'm getting stitches. I had a stitch here, I had a stitch on my elbow, and I'm like, oh God. I looked to the side, and the guy's getting stitches as well on his eyes, and we're both, and we're looking at each other. And it real hurt getting the stitches, live stitches, right? And I'm trying not to show any pain. And all of a sudden he goes, ugh! And I'm like, oh, he's showing pain. So, yeah, no, the fights like that, right? That was harder than a fight at Lumpinee, a fight at Rajadamnern, right? It was a brutal fight. It was a painful fight. Everything thrown into it, like, you know, everything was foreign to me, with the corner being basically gamblers. But yeah, the dynamics would change. And to be honest with you, for the pureness of the sport and to keep it clean and the direction that Muay Thai is going with RWS and of course One Championship, it probably needs those live gamblers to stay away from it, right? Because they can sway judges and things like that, and fighters too.
Well, I'm so surprised. So I know about the 5th round dance off, essentially, like, is what it's traditionally called. But I thought as a foreigner, like, you didn't get that kind of treatment. Like, you were supposed to fight in round 5. I'm surprised that they told you that.
Just money on the line, I think that's what it was. You know, from all accounts, was because I really turned it round in round 3, and then round 4 with the big kick. I think there was obviously, these guys had money, and they were like, you know, I think what happened is at the beginning of the fight is people betting on me, and then the Thai was winning, so the odds went poof down, and then of course round 3 I turned it round and it all flipped round, right? So yeah, it was absolutely pandemonium in there. It was absolutely nuts. So I'm concentrating on fighting and trying to listen to all these people, and every time I landed a kick, the whole stadium was actually favouring me, not the Thai, which is rare, right? Because most of the time I was getting kicked to shit and they'd be cheering him, but this was different. So
my God, what a legendary experience. And honestly, some of the smaller stadiums is kind of the wrong word, but the non-prestigious stadiums like Omnoy, I think Channel 7 or something like that, like, these are absolute. Right now, it used to be from World War II onwards, it was Lumpinee and Rajadamnern, but right now it's mixed everywhere, right?
Yeah, it is Channel 7. I think if you want to see what Muay Thai was, I know it's all changed now completely. If you want to see what Muay Thai was, Channel 7 is now ready to watch it, right? The skill level on those guys is amazing. What you're seeing is phenomenal. And those little shows like you talked about, they don't really get screened anymore. But Channel 7's where it's at if you want to see that sort of old school Muay Thai fights.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What do you think of, like, as you're a kind of it's weird to say at this point, but like, you're a veteran of Muay Thai, you're an old head in Muay Thai. What do you think of entertainment Muay Thai, like One and RWS to an extent, versus traditional stadium Muay Thai?
There's a place for them both. That's how I see it. It's developed into a new sport completely, and we cannot deny, no one can deny, that One Championship especially has changed people's lives. No one. Like, you can't compete with what they're paying, the exposure that they're getting, the sponsorship potentials they're getting. You can't. So it's only a good thing. And first and foremost, as well, is although I am a promoter, I still coach. I really enjoy the passion side of it, and a former fighter, right? So what I'm seeing now is, because Muay Thai, you know, 20 years ago, let's be honest, it was on a path of, it was good to do it, but it was financially, and you know, a good friend of mine, Damien Trainer, we always agreed on.
Oh yeah.
Basically, we built a resume in fighting, right? And that was like our going to university and college, because you never really made any money. We're actually probably in debt, actually, for the love of the sport. And now we're in a position where we're running gyms, I'm doing promotions, he's doing seminars. So we're getting the rewards from that, right? But now you're getting fighters that are actually getting rewarded for fighting, and hopefully after fighting they can use that finances to develop into something big. So, you know, I love the Channel 7s. I love that traditional. I love watching the Golden Era Muay Thai and all those guys. Of course, I still watch them. But you can't. The force of one championship is another level.
Yeah, and you got a handful of guys out there who, like Sexan, for example, who had like spent his life getting beat up in Muay Thai and beating back, and he was a warrior. Now he's getting 10,000 to fight. Amazing.
Yeah,
You know,
the Sexan story is something else. Like it's you know, you hear about him going back to his village and helping out the kids in the village and helping out, you know, his parents, and he's building land in there, and he deserves it fully. You know, he's in his 30s. Most of them are quit by then. He's on a crazy win streak in 1-2. Like, I don't know how many it is, with bonuses as well. So amazing. Like that Saxon story is something else.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you were a 3-time, multi-time world champion. Now you're doing coaching, you're doing promoting. Why retire?
You know, like I don't live with regrets like this, right?
Right.
I don't. I think too many people do, and they look in the past and say, I should have done that, right? I did retire early. I retired at the age of 30. And
that's a Muay Thai. That's normal for Muay Thai.
Well, yeah, it wasn't, right? I could have probably gone on for a few years. I did have offers afterwards. Here's the truth of it. Absolute truth is I was developing a team at the time, and guys were coming from all over the country to come and train with me. And I took a fight before my last fight. I took a fight, and it's no excuse at all. And I lost, and I didn't put the effort into training like I could have, right? And the guy that I fought, who beat me fair and square, he trained 10 weeks, and 5 of those weeks were in Thailand because it was a big name scalp for him, right? And I fought terribly. I didn't train properly. I was concentrating on other things outside. And after the fight, I just sat there in a change room. That feeling is terrible because it's just you in the world, right? And I went, I'm never going to do this again unless I can train properly. And I had another business on the go. I had a team of fighters, but I couldn't go out on the loss, or I couldn't go out on a bad performance. So a few months later, I went, fuck this. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go full in. So I went full in 10 weeks. I put all my fighters to a side. I put all my businesses on pause for a bit and went full on 10 weeks. And you could see the results. I was a much better fighter, and I won that fight, right? And afterwards, I said, unless I can do that again, I'm not going to take another fight. And to be honest with you, I had to weigh up the options. I was 30 at the time. Financially, coaching was making me more money. It was like the breadwinning money each week and each month. So by pausing it for 10 weeks, it was, in financial terms, business terms, it wasn't great, you know, but for inside perspective, for me, it was amazing feeling. And after that, it was like, right, I'm basically done. I had all this team of guys that wanted to train with me. I was getting a little bit of a name of coaching too. Started to launch promotions. And I think if you're going to fight, it's okay when you're sort of lower level and you do it for that sort of thing. But when you want to start taking it seriously, you have to invest in yourself. You have to. Obviously, time, rest, but financially, you have to pay for the coaches. You have to travel, all the food and all the elements and things like that, right? And it's a very selfish sport, which is fine. But I was becoming less selfish, let's put it that way. And I had other priorities in life. And I think at that level, especially, if it's not number one in your life, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna lose, you're gonna feel embarrassed. So yeah, that was the reason why I stopped at that age and why I retired.
Yeah, that's the thing of like, if you are getting into Muay Thai, it genuinely cannot be for the money at this point. Like it has to be for the love of the game. And even like legends like John Wayne Parr was talking about, like, no, I still haven't paid off my house, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because you would think by looking at social media sometimes these guys are getting, you know, houses paid for and things like that. It's a tiny percentage.
Yeah.
Even in boxing and MMA, it's a tiny percentage. For every Conor McGregor, you've got 1,000, 10,000 people behind them. They're nowhere close to that. Nowhere, and never will be either. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of it's to do with luck. Sometimes it's just, even if you have the skills, it's not the people that you don't know the right people around you. So many different elements to it. And the John Wayne Parr story is, you know, he's got an amazing gym. He's got a fantastic family. He's got a great legacy. And I know that he got a bonus for his last fight, 50 grand. And you could see it when he got told it, how much it meant to him, you know, that he could put down onto his house and those sort of things. But like I said, when you're fighting, all those things go to a side. The bills go to a side. You put everything on pause. Your family goes. And there's only so much that you can take it, but also what your body can take also. And John Wayne Parr, he deserved that bonus times 100. Let's be honest. He did. He's made his mark in the world, that's for sure. Especially like anyone who talks about Australian Muay Thai, his name comes up straight first word, you know.
Of course.
So.
Oh yeah, absolute legend. Okay, let's get back to Muay Thai World Cup here. How are you finding with legality in Canada? Because I know for a long time kickboxing and Muay Thai were not allowed. Amateur boxing, MMA, all that was no big deal. But kickboxing and Muay Thai were not allowed. So what's going on with that status?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're gonna be on this one.
Well, I don't know any updates. That's all I know.
Good. It's a good question. It's a good one. So each province in Canada is like this is like a different country.
Yeah.
So every province has its own rules. In Alberta, Muay Thai is allowed. Professional Muay Thai is allowed. However, the commission is strict, and they have a lot of rules. It's super expensive, and it's their way, and that's it. And if you're a promoter, especially coming from when I came from Europe, I wasn't quite prepared for some of the rules. Let's put it that way. And when you challenge the rules, they don't like that, which is weird to me because I'm not challenging in any way rude. I'm being very polite and kind, and I'm doing it with experience here and history of promoting. And it didn't go down too well. Let's put it that way. So I was like, so what does a promoter do? They find other ways around it. So I went to the reserve, the Tsutsina Nation, and said, look, I've got this concept idea. I've got WBC Muay Thai that wants to come here. Everyone knows what WBC is, the green belt. Mm-hmm. And we set up a commission with the WBC rules. And what I done is I flew over a guy from England, Nash, and said, can we do a course for WBC? So let's educate people here. I paid for his flight, paid for his stay, and I gave the course out, and people of Tsutsina and referee and judges from Alberta said, you don't need to pay, come along, do this course. You're gonna know all the rules and that, 95% of them. But this is just a way of getting us over the line with paperwork. So we got it over the line, and then the Tsutsina Combat Commission was then formed. So they had I think 4 or 5 members of that. And then following shortly after that, we got the Muay Thai World Cup sanctioned in Tsutsina. Of course, COVID hit. We did do an outdoor show actually during COVID. So I think, don't quote me on this, apart from UFC, we were the first martial arts show apart from UFC to do a show, to do an event. It was a fucking nightmare. It was outdoors. There was all rules, regulations, but we'd done it. We had 4 fights. It was live. Yeah. We did a GoFundMe so we could fund a kids shelter and sports place on the native land. Sorry. Yep. So that was really cool. It was free on YouTube, and we had crazy amount of views. We had, for us, I think we had like 25,000 live views, which was awesome. It just for Muay Thai, especially for what it was in Canada, was really, really good. So we got it over the line. We then there was a little pause from because they were going through like a changeover in staff. So we did 2 shows in Calgary. The shows were really good, by the way, in Muay Thai World Cup. Yeah. But again, dealing with the commission is different. You can only have X amount of fights. If someone pulls out, which happens, high level, low level, and it's 2 weeks before the fight, you can't change them because all the restrictions and paperwork that you need. So if you've got 12 fights, and then you know what it's like 2 weeks before people get injured, their last sparring session or whatever, you get 4 pullouts, you're left with 8 fights, right? Yeah. So, and you can't swap them over. There's no flexibility in that. So it's such a risk each time. At least with Tsutsina, they allow me to have 18 fights. So if I get 2-3 pullouts, I've still got a nice card, right? Yeah. And then, of course, there's a financial side on top of it and how it's run. So we were glad when Tsutsina opened again because I was like, thank God I can go back there. Even down to the 1 rules that we do, the global rule set with 1s, Calgary won't allow it. So that's our own personal view. What happened to Sutina? I sent them the rules from headquarters of One Championship. 7-10 days later, they said, "Yep, these rules are good. We'll put them into our itinerary." Off they went. Now, if you go into other provinces, British Columbia, professional Muay Thai is not allowed. Amateur Muay Thai is, but professional kickboxing is. So that's a weird one.
That is weird.
Yeah, Ontario's the weirdest one. Amateur Muay Thai is allowed if you've had 25 fights and under. You got to be fully protected: head guard, elbow pads, shin pads.
Okay.
But 25 fights. They do kickboxing rules there, but it's not professional. And if you look at MMA, professional MMA is allowed in Ontario, but not amateur MMA. So professional Muay Thai is not allowed in Ontario either. Very weird, So getting stuff done is very difficult in Ontario. Let's put it that way. We're working systems, and we'll probably have to go to reservation land, which is fine. Yep. The only issue with reservation land, it has to be, of course, cater. So we need a hotel on there. We need the casino with a space. Some of them haven't got that, right? So they'll pass your rules, but there's no point if there's nothing for those guys to fight on. So that's what we're working on in Ontario. But for Muay Thai in Canada to move and progress, it's very, very simple. You need to cooperate. And that's not what's happening. I've been an open book from day one. I absolutely understand if you go into a room and there's 50 people in there, there's no way all those 50 people are going to like you. It doesn't mean you don't work together, right? And that's the issue that's happening with Muay Thai in Ontario and British Columbia and all of that. The gyms and the people in general, everyone's getting on, doing well. And, I have a lot of fighters from Ontario and BC come down. Yeah. But there is the politics side of it behind that, where some fighters and their gyms are affiliated to certain associations that they won't even be allowed to fight on my show, which is ridiculous. So there still is that going on. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the way it's progressing, not just with One Championship or RWS, but where it's progressing in Canada, and not just my promotion, by the way, even these amateur shows are getting sellouts. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a call for a nationwide rule set, right, where all the provinces have got to come together and just agree. I get it, insurances, I get it, paperwork, medicals, absolutely understand all of those sort of things, but it's the small people, the tiny percent of people that are stopping this actually going to another level. I also know why. Of course, it's money. If you keep people amateur, you don't have to pay them purses. You don't have all those sort of things on top of it. So if you're a promoter and you've got 20 fights, say, let's do an example, you're not paying 20 fights at all. You're paying nothing, right? But with my card, I have a percentage of that is professional. They all get paid and they turn pro. And then, of course, they can't go back to amateur. Yeah. So there are lots of fine details to it. But I think I feel the way it's going, the way it's getting highlighted, and even people, not just the general fan, I think people in the government are watching Muay Thai now. They know what fight sports are. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a nationwide allowance for it. I hope so too, because there's so much talent here, so many gyms, and if you can't progress through the ranks, like hockey is so big here. If you can't progress through the ranks from grassroots to professional, and you want to compete, what's the point? Yeah. What's the point? You might as well go off and play basketball. Might as well go off and play football. You might as well go off and play hockey. You might as well, because at least that way you get regular competition, and there's a potential chance that you can make a good career from this. But if that's stopped, I don't blame it. I don't blame a kid going, I'm 15 now. I've had 20 amateur fights, 20 kids fights. I want to turn pro. What the possibilities of it are? There isn't. So what's the point?
It's so weird. And so I've experience with BC boxing, amateur boxing, and it's the exact opposite where we had the passport, we had to pass medicals and stuff, but essentially I just showed up with my passport in any province across Canada. Yep. And at one fight, they just scribbled my name down and they're like, yeah, no, you're good to go tonight. Like, no big deal at all.
Yep. Yeah. So we deal with boxing Canada actually with our ultra white collar boxing. Yeah. So, and I'm going to be honest with you, boxing BC is the best.
Is it really? Oh, okay, cool.
You talk to them on the phone. they answer the phone. You send them an email, they don't give you a reply back. Oh, we'll text you back. Email you back in 5 business days. No, they email you back pretty quickly. Yeah. I actually really like those guys. They're really cool. The other provinces are a little bit more difficult, and it's only because of what I'm doing. It's a bit of a new concept. The ultra white collar is a very different concept to traditional boxing, where people build up a sort of resume as such and are in the gym for a long time. It's completely different, but they're understanding it a lot more than ever. And like I said, I spoke to Boxing Canada, and they're working on making this very possible for me. So that's what I want, and that's what should be happening with Muay Thai.
Yeah, no, that's the thing of like you showed up with a new boxing concept and everyone's like, yeah, sure, cool,
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, that's it. And you just go back and forward, no dispute. You just go back and forward and say, hey, what about this? They say yes, no, and the reasons being, and you go, okay, or could I do this? And that's all you want, a discussion.
Yeah. And hopefully we get there with Muay Thai. But I'm going to put the links down below for everyone. But if people want to keep track more, find more, watch Muay Thai World Cup, talk us on out of here. Where can they find more, sir?
Well, first of all, the usual things, which is our social media, Muay Thai World Cup. You can follow me also, Kieran Keddle. Go onto our website, muaythaiworldcup.com. Everything is on there. You can go if you want to look at our boxing too, ultrawhitecollarboxing.com. We're coming to various different cities around Canada and nationwide, so that's an exciting concept too. So check those sites out. Definitely.
Hey, what's your official title, by the way? Are you CEO? Like, what do you call yourself?
I wear a hat for all different conversations. No, yeah. I'm CEO of MTWC Promotions Inc. So I'm CEO of that, and obviously a head coach at Elite, and I've got my own gym also in Brad Creek. So I'm the head coach for that too.
Awesome. I'll put the links for everything down below, sir. Hey, thank you so much for your time, man.
No, thank you. Take care.